appreciate you guys coming out today in the kind of snow. Xander's over there? Yeah. Today's the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's everybody at? Where are you at?
5 by 6.
5 by 6? Where are you at, Peter and Tia?
5 by 40.
6 by 4.
6 by 4?
4 by 45.
4 by 45?
15 by 42.
15 by 42?
And 1 license agent.
Nice. Anybody else do anything? What's Sheila at?
10.
10K?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, she's watching.
Oh,
Alright, so today we're going to talk about recruiting, which is, we can't talk about it enough. I was talking to Josh the other day. He said we don't talk about it enough. We need to talk about it more. I think that I do agree with that. Now, I do think where certain parts of our team are underperforming when it comes to the sales. So sometimes, unconsciously we veer more towards the sales side of the business because we're trying to pick that part of the business up. But at the end of the day, the cliche is true that recruiting solves all problems. Any problem that you have in the business, any challenge that you have in the business, recruiting it can and will fix that. If you can become a good, successful recruiter. And becoming a good, successful recruiter really, yes, we want to run the numbers and do all those things and you want to show up, but it has to do with how good of a leader you are. How good are your people skills? So you'll notice that as you continuously recruit, the other variable is if you are getting better as a person, then your recruiting numbers will improve, the types of people that you recruit will improve, your retention will improve. So if you're not running the numbers, that's a will issue. You need to figure out what in your mind, right, is preventing you from doing recruiting activity. Why is your belief low? Why are you fearful of recruiting, right? So that's one issue. But if you are running the numbers and people aren't sticking and people aren't moving forward and people aren't trusting you, then it's a you issue. And both are good news because if it's a will issue, you just make the decision to start to work. If it's a you issue, you start to look inward and say, okay, I got to fix these bad habits because there's something about me that is repelling people. And sometimes it's as simple as you're just not committed enough. They just think that you're doing a lot of different things and they don't want to put their trust in you or follow you because you're sending a signal that your flag isn't planted here. So sometimes it's a commitment thing. The more committed you are, right? Mike Sharp says this, even some religious leaders say this. The more committed you are, the more freeing it is. Because when you're not committed, then you're always looking right and looking left. Alex Hormozy said this. He said that when I met Layla and we got married, it created so much more brain space in my mind because I was committed and I realized how much of my brain was attributed to finding someone and hanging out with females and all this and the dating life and managing all the different things. And he said, I just now can focus because I'm more committed. It's the same thing in business. If you're wondering what kind of, should I be here? Should I get a job? Is this really for me? Does this work? Should I be doing something else? Should I get my real estate license? Should I really be doing mortgages? Should I find a company where I can just do investments and I don't have to recruit? And you're asking all these different questions. That's a mind of someone who's not committed and people can feel that. But once you decide that, hey, this is the direction I'm going to go, no matter what, I'm going to do this. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much I'm dragged through the mud. This is where I'm going to win. This is what I'm going to do. That's when people are going to start following you because you exude that. They can see the intensity in the message, right? And that's how they're going to believe in you. You know, people's time is valuable. I mean, if you're recruiting someone who's a do-nothing, right, then there's no loss for them. You can be anyone to recruit someone like that. But if you're recruiting someone like Peter and Tia, they have children, they have a business, they have things going on, their time is valuable. Why would they follow you? Right? Now this is a full-timers meeting. If you're brand new, they're not supposed to follow you. They're supposed to follow, you know, the leader of the team. But at some point, you got to become the leader. It's always good to talk about your upline, right? But when you become a leader, you don't have to talk about your upline. Do you think if Shaq is recruiting, Bruce is the best upline in the world, right? $1 million earner, looks amazing, has an amazing life, has an amazing family, done the business the right way, home office loves him, he's the best example of an upline. Do you think Shaq in an interview ever mentions Bruce? He doesn't need to. He can recruit people to him. Now, if you're someone who's in a position where you feel like, okay, this person's not going to follow me, I got to introduce him to Shaq, I got to introduce him to Samir, I got to introduce him to Sheila, all that, yeah, leverage anything. I still do it once in a while too, but when are you going to be the person that they're going to follow? And I promise you, the money, I'm not saying it's zero, but it's a very small percentage of why people will follow. I thought that. I thought when I start making 100, when I start making 200, when I start making 300, when I start making 400, soon it's going to be 500, right? People quit the same way, right? But they're going to follow me because of how committed I am, how transparent I am, how intense I am about them hitting their goals. Not intense about me hitting my goals, about how much belief I'm putting in them about them winning. That's why people follow you. And I'm telling you, man, this Primerica thing and what it's taught me is, I got one of the best compliments from someone that I really look up to the other day. And we were talking, and you know, my network it's like, I am shocked at some of the people that I'm around, and the fact that they invite me places, and you know, that we're friends, and I get to go and do things with them, and they show me new experiences. And I always tell Anisha, I'm like, I don't even know why they're so nice to me. I don't know why they even want me there, because I don't have much to add to their life in terms of the level that they're at. But this is something that I've worked at, is to build relationships. And Primerica taught me that. And the compliment I got from one of these people, who's someone that I really look up to, we were talking because he is friends with the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. Okay, so that's like real business. Someone was voted, it's like it starts regional, like they have it here, right? And then it goes statewide, and then it goes region-wide, and then it goes national. And if you're Entrepreneur of the Year, you know, probably you're gonna meet the president. All the biggest business leaders wanna know who you are. And you gotta be doing something really, really special. And my friend befriended that guy, right? Now my friend is very successful, and then I'm just asking all these questions about him, and I was like, man, I wonder if I met someone like that, blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me and he goes, dude, out of everyone I know, he goes, you are elite at building relationships. And I'm like, you're telling me that? And I learned it from Primerica. And you know, we always say this, that life is an emotional game, Primerica is an emotional game, business is an emotional game, right? You could be making 500 grand, you could have passive income, but if you feel like shit, you're losing in life because you're losing the emotional game. Everything we do is because it's assumed that it's gonna make us feel better. We're trying to constantly manipulate our emotions. And relationships are life. That's a cliche. Because of how they make you feel, right? And if you want to feel better in Primerica, you need more relationships. Not with Entrepreneur of the Year. That person's not going to do anything for you, right? Other than the fact that, you know, maybe a couple times a year you get to hang out with this person, experience some new things, then it drives you to do better in your life, right? But the day-to-day, you have to build strong, awesome relationships where, you know, you're helping people and good things are happening and you're helping people move forward and you're moving forward, and that's how you're going to feel good about yourself. And Primerica taught me all of these things. You know, it changes. In the beginning, it was like Primerica gave me direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then Primerica gave me an opportunity. And then Primerica gave me, money. And then Primerica taught me how to manage my money, how to keep my money, how to have good habits, how to be a leader. But now, the overall thing that Primerica taught me, the value I've gotten, is it's the emotional intelligence I've learned from the reading the books and the recommendations of the books and the people and watching how they react, right? Spending time with people that are really successful, you start to see, oh, that's how you handled that. Oh, that's how you shrugged that off, right? Or that's how you think about this. It's unbelievable what it does for your life, how it enriches you, right? And so recruiting is about building relationships. That's what it's about, more so than clients and sales. So, I don't know if I did this where it comes up one at a time. No?
No.
It's not. Right? So, let's look at this, right? Truths on recruiting. Number one, recruiting is all about excitement. You gotta get excited, man. Everybody knows, because I say it, I probably shouldn't say it as much because I don't want that really to be the story of my life, that I'm an introvert, but I say it because it provides value to some of the people in the room, okay? But I am an introvert. I am quiet. I'm not the life of the party. I don't want to be that person. I'm not great at having amazing conversation. I'm good at asking questions and learning about you. I don't really talk about myself. That's kind of how I am. But if you put me into a Primerica environment, I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to meet new people. I'm excited to, shake people's hands. I'm excited to hear the stories. I'm excited to watch people win. And when I go into a recruiting situation, my energy level is way up. If you follow Mario Arizon, what you'll notice is that, just like the way I post, he never posts what he's saying. And then whenever you can hear, because he has music in the background, he covers up what he's saying. So you see him training all the time, you don't hear what he's saying. And then once in a while, when he turns the music off, he says like the same line that I've always heard. So I'm like, what does this guy talk about? And there's obviously some magic to him because he's so crazy successful. But a couple of the ones that he posted in the last week, you could hear what he was saying. He was speaking at, it was really, I guess he has a lot of friends that are real estate brokers, and he goes and he speaks for them. And, it's similar to Primerica. And he was talking about energy level, and he was talking about how he trains his guys on the right energy level to have. That's the difference. When you come to our Fast Start schools versus I bet when you go to his, people are a lot more hyped up. Whether they feel like it or not, we have to show that kind of energy. And how you talk to yourself is where it starts. If you are already saying, I'm tired, I'm down, I had a long night, I got in a fight with my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, then, the result is going to be, you are going to be sitting back in your seat, thinking about your issues, having bad energy. You got to, no matter what, when you come into these Primerica meetings, when you are walking into an interview, when you are at the op meeting, when people are coming out of the op meeting, you got to be like, smile, hand out, so jacked up, so excited, not in a weird way. Right? We've talked about social cues and understand, you can't scream, you can't yell, you can't, your volume has to be an appropriate level, but, I can be energetic without, being, flailing around. So I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Right, so Hai, stand up. So Hai comes out of the op meeting. Here, walk towards me. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, how's it going? Right? And I notice this because I do this. Thank you. I do this by habit now, where I'll be at a store, I'll be out here, right? And I'll see someone, I don't even know if they're in our meeting or some other office, and I just give them like a big smile because that's just what I'm used to doing and I like doing it. And then I see that they can't do anything but respond with a big smile. And I do this all the time. You have to have the right energy. It is a real thing to have bad energy, and then you're working in vain. If you even did the work to get the people out, what's the point if you're not going to put your all into being excited, right? Why would someone follow someone who was not excited? Right? If you're not excited about the opportunity and you're the one trying to recruit me, why in the world would I give you my credit card and then come into business with you? And as crazy as it is and as rhetorical as it sounds in common sense, these are things that we have to teach people. And that is the issue with, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I told Anisha, I was like, yo, we gotta find some people, right? Let's get on it. Who's in our network? Who haven't we talked to in a long time? Who's this, who's that? And then she got these guys on the phone that she's friends with, and one of the guys was like, he actually used to have a license, because there's two guys on the phone. So we looked him up, and he had a license like 8 years ago or whatever. Obviously, he let them lapse. And then the guy was making fun of the guy that had the licenses in the past. They're like 30 years old now, right? And he got it in his 20s. Like, I remember when he got those licenses, and he said, and it was some company in Richmond, which is where they're from, and it was an insurance company, but he got fully licensed, and he was selling whole life, right? And he said that, I remember him at 22 when he got his licenses, he called us and he said, guys, I'm gonna be a financial advisor, I'm gonna make millions of dollars, I'm gonna build this client base, I can't wait, I'm gonna make 200 grand my first year. And he goes, and we're all just like, okay, and then 6 months later he just quit. And then they were kind of laughing about it, and I interjected and I said, well, that's the reason why I like recruiting young people though, because they actually believe that that could happen. It's a lot more difficult to convince someone who's 50 years old that that's gonna happen. Right? Now I'm 42, I'm not making fun of older, but even if I go to people I know at 42, they're just not going to be that enthusiastic. So that's the thing about sometimes with the age thing, like, yeah, if I recruit someone 50 years old, am I gonna be like, yo, let me train you on energy? They may not like that. That's the problem. Right? Now, indirectly, when they come to the meetings, which they usually don't, but when they come to the meetings, they can indirectly get the message from me talking from the front of the room, but it's a lot easier for me to, when you're recruiting in certain types of segments of the market, the people are just more coachable and there's a willingness to change. People resist change, but in success, you have to change faster. Next thing is, you have to overdo it. So there's always those people in Primerica, happens, we all fall victim to it, including myself, where you start to think you're good enough to where you can choose the people who are gonna be the good ones. Right? And I'll tell you right now, my guys know, because I'll be excited about one of their recruits. And then I won't be excited about someone else, and I'm completely wrong. That, hey, I'm gonna take that person out to lunch. They seem very sharp. Next week they're gone. Right? I'm wrong all the time. I try to act like I know. That's like the ego in me, but I can admit to you, I'm wrong all the time. The only way to find great people in your business, and you can get lucky and you can recruit someone. Right? You can be like, okay, they're showing all the signs and they actually become that person. But the way that you're going to have more of those opportunities, the frequency of feeling that way about someone, obviously is going to happen from more attempts. Right? It's not about pulling weeds, it's about planting more seeds. If I have 10 people, it's like, oh man, I gotta get rid of this person, or I gotta help this person get up. Well, it's easier to plant more seeds. That is just the way that it works. That is even how corporate America does it. Now, we hire the people NC, but even the word hire, what are we really doing? We're allowing someone to attempt to get licensed and they can sit in a free meeting, right? Corporate America fields many different resumes for positions. We're doing the same exact thing. So you gotta overdo it. We say here, you gotta double-digit recruit. That means you gotta get 10 recruits a month. So think about it like the NBA, right? You wanna score 20 points. Sheila, can you score 20 points on 3 shots? Is there any combination where that can happen? No. So the thing is for a lot of the goals that people have in recruiting, I don't think they've done the math backwards in terms of how many people you need to talk to. And that's not something that you should be scared of. When you break it down to a daily thing, it could be 5-10 people. Now, talking to 5-10 people a day, you're talking about 150 to 300 people a month. Then come talk to me and say you're having trouble recruiting. Now, talking to 5-10 people a day, how many minutes a day is that, do you think?
30 to 60.
Okay, 30 to 60 minutes. So everyone wants to be rich, but it's too hard to put 30 to 60 minutes a day into your business to grow. This is what it really comes down to, right? Now, some people are like, but Samir, I'm putting in 5 hours a day. Again, it might be a you issue. That's where this thing gets weird, because as a leader, like I can't see every text you're sending, and I don't want to, and everything that you're doing, right, behind closed doors, and what is really going on in your mind, because people start to learn how to pretend in Primerica, right? They just learn how to say all the right things to like kind of get us to back off. In the beginning, we start picking apart everything you're saying. Like, why did you say that? Why are you doing this? Why? And then starts to figure out, okay, I gotta really be positive around this guy. I gotta say I'm working. I gotta say this. And then we don't know what's going on. But usually, it's reflected in the numbers. You know, I'll give you an example. So Xander texted me yesterday. He was like, "Man, I know he's listening to this, right?" He goes, I just thought about it. I really need to learn about, and people, it's not just him. I'm using him because he's tough. Everybody does this. Because I get the most calls for help, right? And he's like, if I could just learn more about government plans, I realize like how little I know about things like the TSP. I said, really? And he's like, yeah. Number one, that has nothing to do with where he is in his business, what he needs to grow, right? It's funny. And I said, you know it's online, right? And I Googled TSP performance, and I sent him the link, and I said, it's right there. If you chose to, you could research it on your own. How do you think I learned? Do you think I think you guys think that, and why wouldn't you? When I got in the business, Shaq and Brett were like, this is how IUL works. This is how TSP works. I'm the one who learned all of that to start these trainings. Thomas, you know that. The trainings had nothing to do with anything. It was just like us screaming at everybody. But like the information is there. Now, if you can choose, right? Like right now, and this is how you kind of know you're getting a little older. I see what I feel like. What entertains me now is very different than what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm entertained by business and how the world works and how things function and things that are going on and like getting better at my craft and a new way to think. And I'm like, oh man, this is so awesome. That was so fun listening to this podcast or reading this chapter. That's not how it is when you're younger, right? You want to listen to music and you want to, watch clips of movies and go back and, you want to watch those shows and all. And it's really different now how I spend my time. But that's also why I have smarter things to talk about and better responses. I thought about it the other day, because I've been training really since day one. Because since day one, I have, I did 5x5 my first month. I double-digit recruited personally my second month, and I've always kind of been in sitting in the front. So you think on average, now many years we had multiple meetings a week, but if I've been here 20 years, how many weeks is that? I think it's 1,000 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it's 1,000 weeks. on average, if I had to train twice a week, how many trainings is that? 2,000. 2,000. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have to take some of the time out of social media and whatever else you're doing and research some things on your own and fit in some time to put some nutritional things in your brain, because one day you may be in front of the room and people want to hear what you got to say. And not to like brag, but some of these trainings that I do for 45 minutes, I thought about it 30 seconds before I walked in. Not because I'm unprepared, because the gears are turning from the night before to the morning in the shower and at the gym, and I'm just thinking, then it hits me right before I walk in, and it's 45 minutes, and people say, yeah, that was a great training. But that's 1,000 trainings in when you can do something like that. Right? So, really, running the numbers is the only way that you are going to find the types of people that you want to find. But here's the good part. Running the numbers will make you more skilled. Running the numbers will make you more sharp. Running the numbers will get you more efficient. The reason why people want to run small numbers is because they say, why would I recruit 100 people and just see what happens? I'll recruit the 5 people that I think will be the best. It doesn't work like that, right? And trust me, the person talking to 100 versus the person only talking to 5 is getting a lot more skilled. The person who's running the higher numbers is sounding so amazing on the phone. They sound way more persuasive. They always have the right things to say. People just don't have enough attempts to actually get good because they're running small numbers. Recruiting is more gratifying than sales. I guess the way you want to think about it, right? Sales makes me money. Recruiting is, yes, it makes me money, it's because I want more passive income, but at the end of the day, I want to show that I'm a leader and that I can transfer success. So I thought about this in the car this morning. I was like, I guess you could kind of say, okay, I'm a single guy, and in 1 year, I jumped my income from 100 to 200. That's awesome. Or I can have a kid, and I can see them having success. Which one is, right? So there's personal successes, but then recruiting gratification is like on another level. When you see people turning the corner, when you see people having success and using the things that hopefully you taught them, and then they took to, So I think it's hard to really understand before you actually do it. I'm not talking about, someone passing the exam. I'm talking about, and there are those little successes along the way, but someone saying, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to move here from Michigan to start a new life. Or someone made, 10 grand the first time ever, and it like breaks their brain. It unlocks something. Their belief level explodes. It's awesome. It's an easier way to get production. So if I look at, if I look at my book of business, and I have this is not in my agency, this is me personally. I have over 200 people that have over 100,000 invested. Okay? And then hundreds and hundreds that have under 100. When I look at that list, and I go through it all the time, 90% of that list is from me recruiting someone. I took you in the field, you were with us for 6 months, you decided that you were going to pursue some other opportunity or job, but those clients basically stayed under me. So what that should tell you is through recruiting and field training is how you are going to find your best clients. Now, if there was something wrong with that or whatever, right, the people wouldn't have left me. Why are they still here 20 years later, 15 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later? So if you have that amount of money, you're not dumb, right? So they got tricked into something they would have already left. But they see the value, whether or not Hai is in the business, they say, I'm going to stick with Samir. He's done a great job. He always follows up. I'm not paying a ton of money in fees. The investments are doing well. I'm using investments as an example because I don't look as much as at my insurance book of business. So what is this compared to? If you go into a normal sales situation, where do they find their clients? Leads, cold. People say, hey, do you guys have leads? Do you understand the mechanics of a lead? I have people that are very successful in the lead generation business, meaning they generate the leads, and that's how they make money. So one of my friends he generates leads for the moving industry. So he's like a tech guy. And some of the biggest movers, they buy leads from him. Now, if he generates a lead, someone that says, I want to move from Ashburn to Texas, he sells that lead to 5 different companies. And the companies know that. They know that they're competing with 5 other people that got the same phone number. So people say, hey, do you guys have leads? What do you think it is? Like someone saying, hey, we're waiting for Chandel to call us so we can buy life insurance? No, it's someone that clicked on something and said, yeah, I'd be interested in learning about life insurance in some capacity, and now they're getting bombarded by 20 different phone calls. And hopefully you are one of the people that can close them. And you could potentially close them, but then they're still getting calls from someone else, and the next person convinces them, and then you just lost a sale. So this is a higher quality production, not even in my opinion, it's a fact. Because if Bao gets a license, forget about me field training. If Bao gets a license and she writes 10 sales, right? At least someone knew that person. They had the connection to that client. Yeah, I don't know her grandfather, but she does. Now, if I went to the grandfather directly and I knocked on the door, yeah, maybe I could get the sale. But if he cancels on me, he could care less. There's no emotion lost there. But he's not going to cancel on his granddaughter. You guys with me? So because there's always that tie-in relationship, it's a higher quality level of production that you are going to get. Recruiting is the only way to get wide, okay? Why do you want to be wide? Because with So if you have all these people on your team, and someone does 2 by 2 every month, another person does 5 by 5, another person does 15 by 2, but the other person does 2 by 15, right? And then one person does 1 by 1, and the other person does 1 by 1 as well, right? So maybe this person has a bad month, but then this person can have a good month. Or maybe this person now gets married and they get way more motivated, or they have a kid and they immediately go from 1 by 1 to 5 by 5. So the variability there and the changes that can happen, we compare it to like cylinders in an engine. So some cylinders are up and some cylinders are down. I sent out a text to my team last month. It's almost hard to believe. Like I sent a text out to my team about January last year, right? And we did 70,000 in the base. And when I sent out the numbers of what everyone did, like everyone was peaking. And yeah, that can happen too, where you just out of the gate, you do 70 grand because everyone's up. Now, let's say that there's some times where everyone is down. That's going to happen too. But do you want that with 2 people or 1 person or 10 people? If 10 people, everyone's down, I'm still going to bonus, that's what my goal is as a leader of the team. We have to make sure we do at least 20 by 20. So on a good month, hey, you can do 70, but you want to be wide enough where on a bad month, you are still going to bonus. So you have to have width in the business. And one of the other things that we say about width is that every leg in your business is like a different business. It's like a different company. So you have some legs that are in your business that are very profitable. Some are not profitable, but they're better at other things. And you treat each business differently. If you think about Amazon, right? The average person thinks about Amazon as a, consumer e-commerce company. But we've talked about this, right? Amazon now has their own, their fleet of planes and trucks. They're one of the biggest shipping companies. They're one of the biggest software companies. They're one of the biggest cloud companies. Actually, the cloud is 87% of the revenue, which is AWS. So Amazon has many different verticals. It has many different lines of business. It has many different companies. You only see Amazon, right? But there's many different ways that they generate revenue. It's the exact same thing in Primerica. You need to have multiple businesses within your business, and the business, of course, are run by people that you have under you. Helps you outpace attrition, right? So the way I used to visualize this with people, I used to say that your office, your team, is like a glass with water in it. The problem is that there's cracks in the glass. And so water is leaking out all the time. So the number of agents that we have is constantly going down. People say, well, that sounds bad. Well, doesn't that happen in every company? Do people move? Do people retire? Do people quit? Do people go work for a competitor? Right? So many things happen in every company. So HR, and in this case us, we have to be putting more water in than water is leaking out. So you can maintain the number of people that you have and the number of producers that you have. You always have to have more people coming in than are going out. You don't think real estate's like that? How many people do you think have left the real estate industry? How many in the insurance industry? There's an age issue because all the insurance agents in America, the average age is in the 50s for insurance and investments. You don't think they're worried about getting more people in the door? If you own an investment brokerage like Morgan Stanley, are you worried about your 60-year-olds getting bigger clients, or are you thinking, man, I better hire some people right now that we can train and develop to take place of these 60-year-olds when they eventually die, retire, quit? So the people at the top of an organization are always personnel focused. More people, more people, more people. So your business, the fancy way for people leaving, is called attrition. Your business is going to have attrition. How are you going to outpace that? You're going to outpace that by recruiting a ton of people. More people than are leaving. So you got to track that, right? On your licenses or whatever else. And I got this from Bill Arender. When you are recruiting, you are going to turn people off. But the comforting thing that I heard him say was, you got to turn people off if you're going to turn people on. What are the things that turn people off in Primerica? That's broad, right? We know that, but what about it?
You have to talk to their friends and family.
Okay, so reach out to friends and family. What else?
Meetings. Meetings.
Meetings. Meetings on Saturday morning. What else is a turn off?
Making calls.
That's kind of the same thing, right? Because we're not like making a cold call right away.
There's no advertising. There's no like public advertising. Like people don't even know about it.
Yeah. So that okay.
That's production based. Production based.
Commission.
Recruiting.
What about recruiting?
People they have a stigma in their mind about
I know, but
recruiting.
what are we asking them to do that they don't like?
Talk to
Prospecting.
random people.
You're asking them to prospect right away? What then?
Bring people in.
Bring people. You said that's prospecting?
Yeah, but it's just generating interest in, see, take a look at your business.
Yeah, but I don't think you're telling people like, now I'm gonna teach you, now I'm gonna tell you to prospect. I mean, right? I'm doing the training not to like, I'm actually talking to you guys. That's why I'm getting you to be more specific. Because if Ismaldo says, hey, recruiting, and I just say recruiting, and people are scared of recruiting, no. I want you to say that it's a turnoff to get them to invite people, which is why you are not getting them to invite people. That's letting you off the hook just saying, oh yeah, recruiting is a turnoff. No. What is it about recruiting that's a turnoff? That you're asking them to invite people, therefore you don't ask them to invite people. You're not telling them they got to come to the meetings. Because you're not trying to turn people off, but guess what? The bigger guys tell me if you're not willing to turn them off, then you're not going to turn them on. You're going to lose the right people because you're not trying to discourage the wrong people. What else? List. Look at this. This is all. If I go through what everyone's doing, this is the stuff that you're not getting people to do because you don't want to turn people off. This thing is a circle and you are trying to fit a square in it. It doesn't work that way. You know, people lie about this, about the commission part, and you may be wondering, like, I don't do anything. Well, some of the stuff you may do, some of the stuff you may not do. This is a commission business, but let me tell you why commission makes more sense. Anytime someone asks me, what do you say about commission, you guys know how I answer that question. I say some things, it makes sense to work commission, more so than getting paid hourly. Like real estate, like loans. You guys have heard me say this. Would you rather make in 3 hours helping someone $1,000 or $20 an hour you make $60? You gotta get better at explaining why instead of avoiding getting people. Why do you think I'm able to communicate the way I am? Because I didn't say, let me avoid them coming to meetings. No, I thought, let me think of the most amazing way to sell why you gotta come to meetings. And if you don't freaking buy that, then you're a moron. But people say, you got to come to meetings. They say, oh, I got this going on. You got to come to meetings. I got this going on. And then they just stop asking. Right. Recruiting and building relationships is digging deeper in this stuff, man. When are you going to be a person of influence? What is influence? You don't want to join because it's commission, then I get you to join and you're excited about commission. That is influence. You don't want to reach out to friends and family, and I show you 10 different reasons why your friends and family are going to be suffering if you don't reach out to them, and how much of a stud I am if they get to meet me. They get to meet me. And now you want to take me to go see friends and family. That is influence. If you are not thinking that way, you should be thinking like, all right, come at me. What do you got? And then you should get a sick pleasure out of converting people into thinking a different way. But people don't do that. They just back down. You know, I'm constantly making notes about the type of training that I want to do. And one of them I'm going to give you guys a list of all the fines that other banks have recently paid. Go look up TD. They literally got in trouble for money laundering. Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, every one of these companies, and all these people that there's a stigma about it, right? And I know there is. I'm not making fun of you, but I'm saying like they go happily work for one of these companies.
Right.
They're doing the most dishonest, unethical things in the world. They're getting fined billions of dollars. And what do they say about us? Oh, they're trying to get you to hire people so they can use you for their market and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Some people say that. I get it. Look at what's going on in the world. Relative. When are you going to stop tiptoeing around what it really takes? again, it's not always a them issue, sometimes it's a you issue. And this is with me as well. If I'm a leader of the team and we're struggling in any given area, I have to look at myself first. What am I doing wrong? You got to look at yourself, right? What are you avoiding talking about with people? This is like when I see someone like a Jen, this is what Shaq and I talk about, that, man, she just does everything with everybody. They showed up to the meeting. Afterwards, they set 2 appointments. Then we see her selling them a ticket to the event, right? Then we see the pictures of the people showing up at the office. Then they're learning how to prospect. Then they have guests showing up, right? And you can come up with many reasons why she is able to do that or whatever, but the point is she is fundamentally sound. Right? We don't go to her practice and everyone is all of a sudden only practicing threes because that's the fun thing to do. They are running sprints and they are, doing layup drills and they're doing the hard things. That is what a winning team is going to do. And if you don't show up to a meeting, again, there's different ways to do things and she has her own way, but if you don't show up, I think we can all assume the person is going to hear it, whether they make 150 grand or 20 grand. Now again, you have to have tact when you do that, but the point is a conversation is going to be had. And I'm not perfect either, guys. I've gone through, in 20 years, all the experiments, letting people do what they want, right? Seeing what they'll do, telling them what to do, forcing them what to do, right? I've been through it all. We have a way of doing things, and you got to find people, and you have to explain how Primerica works. And we don't evolve Primerica to fit to their life. They're not winning in life, most likely. Right? They have to adapt. Oh, well, they're saying that they're doing okay. Then go find someone who's not.
Right.
You know the one big revelation, this is my own private life thoughts, I'll tell you. The one revelation I have, because I have friends that are, if you came to the wedding, right, my friends, I have billionaire friends. These aren't like 60-year-olds. I have 30-year-old billionaire friends. I have friends that, they run public companies. I have friends that they're just really successful. And what I realize about all of them is that they're all working harder than me. And I thought about it, I was like, this Primerica thing is weird because they encourage you to take your foot off the gas. I think that's changing now, right, in the last few years with some of the younger people coming, but once you get to a certain level, once you have passive income, once this, once that, you take your foot off the gas. But I'm looking around, I'm like, man, these guys, like I can calculate by the number of shares they own of their own companies and how, it's all public information. Like this guy probably has $200-300 million in his stock-based comp plan, and he's at his office 16 hours a day and doesn't return a text for 4 days because he's that busy. And then I saw on Twitter that he's speaking at the Goldman Sachs blah 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 summit. I mean, it's insane how hard people are working. So we got to work harder, and we got to find, what was the point of me telling you that story, is that when I say find someone who's not okay, it doesn't mean that they're not doing well. There's a lot of people that are doing well, and they're still not okay. They want to do even better. Middle class is right there. They're in the middle. They're not poor, but they're not rich, and some people are very happy just being right there. I'm looking for somebody that wants to get to the next level. Income-wise, business-wise, personal growth-wise. Any questions? What announcements do we have?
The incentive for Shaq's Mansion.
Okay. Not a mention. do, for anyone that does 2x2 personal from the 13th until the end of the month, 2x2, 2 recruits, 2,000 in premium, you get to come to Shasta Theater for the Super Bowl, which is going to be a lot of fun. What else? You guys ready to recruit? 10 days left. 1, 2, 3.